Well, hello.
Welcome, Chris.
Did you get my message earlier?
On my cell phone or email?
Email.
Email was a partial message. It only said Chris and Dave. It said Chris, comma, and then Dave. So then I thought, well, maybe you were, not Chris, Carol. And so then I thought maybe you were emailing Carol and you maybe stopped the message to me and finished it to Carol. So no, I did not.
No, that was, I was answering your email in regard to other TRS members. So it was Carol and Dave were the two that I was aware of, or it used to be Dave. And then the other message I said, I have to be off the phone. I have a WebEx with, at Park County, I am testifying in a domestic abuse, they call it an advisor. So I have to be off the phone right at 10:45. It was supposed to be yesterday. They canceled it. I have no idea why. And then they told me that the person apparently they have to be completely sober before they can go. So they did not blow sober. So they rescheduled it for this morning.
Well, I think we better get started. So I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Regional Advisory Council of the Area Agency on Aging. Welcome, everyone. So glad to see you here today. Okay. We have our agenda. I would like to make one change on the agenda. Well, two changes, I guess. We're going to have Chris from our TRS committee report after the Community of Caring presentation. So that will be 8.5 or something, 8.2. And then down on our next meeting is in May instead of today's meeting. So our next meeting will be May 27th. Are there any additional changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from our last meeting, from the March 25th meeting? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda and minutes?
I motion.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. And may I have a second?
Bill Bowles, second.
Thank you, Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye or raise your hand. All opposed, say no. Hearing none, the ayes have it. And the agenda and minutes are approved. Melissa, are there any public comments?
We did not have any. So, yep.
So we're all set to go on. Wonderful. And next we move on to our presentation by Community of Caring. And who's doing that presentation today?
That would be Ted and his staff person, Michelle, I believe, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Sorry, B, that I didn't get you their names ahead of time, but they are here and ready.
They are here and ready. All right, so take the floor.
Hi, it's actually Ted and Lisa. I'm Ted Borden. I'm the Executive Director for Community of Caring Foundation up in Cripple Creek. And it's a pleasure to be with you again. It's always such a nice thing to be able to tell you guys a little bit about what we do up here in Southern Teller County. So Lisa Noble is our director of our senior advocate programs, which we have 3 programs that are actually funded under AAA and PPACG. So thank you so much for your support. Community of Caring was founded in 1999. And really it was an answer to the challenges that were brought to the community in association with the gaming industry. Of course, gaming has been in Cripple Creek now since 1991. And so what we noticed way back then was that Mary Beals was one of the founders, and she was an art teacher at the school, and she started to really see so many challenges to families and kids in the community that were associated with their either move up here to be working in the gaming industry. So just a lot of challenges, and there weren't many services in the southern end of the county at that time. Most of the services were either in Woodland Park or down the hill in Colorado Springs. So a lot of risk factors, family conflict and low neighborhood attachment and transiency, and just a lot of things that came to the community that just complicated things. And so way back in the last day of 2001, we were able to get a donation of the Aspen Mine Casino, which was a casino that was no longer in use and had sat vacant for about 5 years. And it was a great donation from AMC investors from Atlantic City. And of course, when their investment didn't pan out, it wasn't great circumstances, but it certainly was, because their donation turned into a community resource center that has helped thousands of people over the years and has helped to build a lot of programs to help the community. And one of those, the most important programs, has been our senior programs that Lisa will tell you more about. But we've been a partner of AAA and PPACG since 2011. And so this is our 10th year, 11th year of providing services to the seniors here in Southern Teller County. So some of the risk factors for our seniors in the community are obviously high altitude, high elevation. We're at about 10,000 feet elevation, so a lot of medical issues in association with that. Social and geographic isolation is a real challenge for our seniors. Lack of knowledge on how to use technology and lack of access to the internet. There's still a lot of areas that really don't have good internet or are able to access technology. And of course, over the last year with COVID, it's been a real challenge for those folks to be able to continue to function in that way. And then just a real rugged individualist kind of mentality, and so a reluctance to ask for help when they need things, or to wait until the last minute because they think that they're going to be able to work it out in some other way. So that's another challenge. And then COVID related challenges, as you guys know, social isolation, fear and depression and those kinds of things. Go ahead. So, and then lack of purposeful activity. So many of our seniors have been volunteers in one capacity or another. And with COVID, it really kind of impacted their ability to get out and to be able to do the things that they really love to do. And and then lack of access to necessities, getting groceries. I think that was really been a challenge. And then some of the approaches that we've been able to kind of develop as a result of some of the challenges posed by COVID. There's a very purposeful outreach program. In fact, Lisa and her team went to the town of Victor, a town of about 450 folks, and they actually visited 80 seniors just in that little town. Went door to door, provided information, of course, social distancing and masked up, but they really wanted, sometimes our seniors don't have access to communication, phones even, and so they really did a very purposeful outreach in the community. And then a lot of phone calls, calling all of the seniors that we have ever contacted in the past, a lot of the seniors that we knew were at risk, to make sure that they were getting the information on where testing sites were and now where the vaccine sites are. A card writing campaign, we worked, we had a lot of volunteers writing just thinking of you cards to let them know that there are really people in the community that are really concerned. And then working with the Senior Coalition, Teller Senior Coalition has just been stellar in creating out-of-the-box approaches and really integrating our services with them as well. So just a lot of great things that happened as a result, because our ability to partner with other agencies just was very much increased. And so that great things that happened as a result and a byproducts of COVID, really. And then just a big thank you to everybody on the RAC and all your hard work. We could not do what we do for the seniors in this community without your support, without your support financially, but also just the great staff and support of the staff in the RAC. And so really thank you so much for all of your hard work and efforts. Truly, the programs have been life-changing and life-saving in a lot of situations here in Teller County. So thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to let her tell you more about our program.
Yeah, I'm going to do more formal, go along with the PowerPoint here. So the first we wanted to talk about, so our community caring senior advocacy program, we have we encompass three main programs: the senior case management, reassurance caller program, and the homemaker program. Our senior advocacy staff were really highly skilled at overcoming significant challenges to maintain our seniors' independence. We have 3 staff members. I'm the senior advocate and senior case manager. What slide is that? Okay. We have Don Diamond, who is our reassurance caller, senior caseworker. We also have a part-time reassurance caller, Arden Mark, who is a long-term volunteer for the Aspen Mine Center. She leads our volunteers for our boutique in the Creek clothes closet, and she also makes the best banana bread ever in Teller County. So we get double the greatness from our friend and coworker Arden. And Shannon Conley is our newest addition. She's our senior advocate specialist. She's partly funded through another funding source as well.
Seth, can I interrupt you just for 1 second? Should I go on to another slide? I want to make sure I'm with you guys. I'm not sure that I am. So what do you think?
I think you took it up one. You need to go back 1 slide.
Yeah, I'm on slide 2.
Yeah, but you're talking about like all of you. It's the one that's up is senior advocate case management. And I think the one before.
I'm not in charge of the slide, so I can't see which slide I'm on, but I'm on slide 2.
Back one?
I think if you go back.
Yeah, I'll try to go back one.
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can make that happen, but I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
Sorry to have jumped ahead.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you in a minute.
Okay, I'll wait. Thanks, you guys.
So our senior advocacy program is built on 3 foundational principles, which are building trusting relationships with clients, collaboration and integration of resources and services, and implementation of proven models and best practices. We're funded mostly through the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. Thank you so much. We couldn't do this without you. And of course, because we are funded through you and because you guys have the best mission in the world, is we follow your mission to assist older adults to remain in their homes by removing barriers to independent living and to assist the coordination and development of a comprehensive system of services for seniors. Community of Caring has successfully served our seniors since 2001, 2002, yeah. With the opening of the Aspen Mine Center, and it is our mission to look out for and fill those gaps in the programming for our seniors. Slide 3, here we are. The Senior Advocacy Program was funded initially in 2011, as Ted said, as the Aspen Mine saw that the seniors had their own unique issues and needs. Since 2011, we have funded, or we have served over 1,300 unduplicated seniors from the beginning of the grant cycle, last grant cycle, and now we have actually served over 1,500 unduplicated seniors. This program has grown like wildfire in this year. It is amazing how many seniors have needed assistance. Teller County, the barriers to independence, they're unique, they're complex, they're multiple. They include geographic isolation, poverty, unaffordable housing. We have no housing up here. You pretty much have to own a home to live here. Family dysfunction, low community attachment, and as Ted said, a culture of rugged individualism. And that often inhibits the seniors from seeking assistance. And, you know, our seniors have a lot of unique health challenges due to the elevation. So we need to assess needs, develop plans of care, coordinate, and arrange services. Every day is a new and exciting experience. Every senior we come in contact with has their own unique set of needs and abilities. In one day, we may get one person that needs to just figure out how to get their flip phone messages. I mean, I had to figure that out for them, you know? And I have no idea how to use a flip phone, but now I do. The next person's immediate needs is they have no food. They aren't hooked into DHS programs. Their furnace went out and their water is frozen, and they never signed up for Medicare when they were of age to do it. And they have a toothache and they don't have insurance. This is one person, you know? So you see, one plan will be very different than the other. There's the one and done, and then there's a plan where you have to help them start at the beginning, prioritize their needs, and then help them start chipping away, applying for the programs that they need. It's our job to look at the whole person, to educate them on programs that are out there and assisting them and referring them to programs. You know, I didn't really realize how many programs are just on the internet now, and that's all you can't even sign up for UC Health for an appointment without getting on the internet. And some people have flip phones and they have no internet, so they have to come to us for things. We identified and orchestrate resource connectivity. It is the utmost importance that our seniors maintain their independence. And thanks to our many partners, we have great partners in the community. Just to mention a few, the Teller Senior Coalition, Cripple Creek PD, the Sheriff's Office, Department of Human Services, Cripple Creek Care Center, Golden Bridge Network, Independence Center, and the list goes on and on. We have some great businesses up here as well, including Newmont Mining, and we have volunteers that are just the best volunteers in the world that haven't been able to volunteer during COVID, but they're coming back and they're just aching to come back. We've had a lot of COVID impacts, like Ted said. Before COVID, the city had a fantastic transportation system. So seniors could easily get around town and from Victor. The city shut down its transportation system due to COVID. And until about a month ago, there was no public transportation to the grocery store or to the post office. People cannot get their mail to their homes in Cripple Creek and Victor. They have to go to the post office. Many seniors, they were dependent on that transportation. And if you've ever walked up the street in Cripple Creek, you know how taxing it is on your ability to catch your breath. COVID has been a strain on local seniors due to the moratorium on evictions as well. We have several seniors who own rental property and are not receiving their rental income due to their tenants losing their jobs, and that they know they cannot be evicted. They aren't set up with electronic office equipment, and they need assistance scanning documents and helping them sign up for some of the rental assistance programs. The problems with not being electronically savvy has also impacted our seniors with getting their unemployment. As we have many seniors, yes, many over 70, some 77, 85 years old that are still working in order to survive. Many of them are still not back to work because of their being vulnerable to COVID. And many also don't file their taxes. So they have not received their stimulus monies like the majority of Americans have. Like Ted said, COVID has also brought increased isolation and loneliness, and our programs have been very instrumental in assisting seniors with that. The next slide. Our case management and reassurance programs have really demonstrated critical impact. The Reassurance Caller program has really grown this year due to COVID. We have saved lives. We have mitigated multiple crises. The Reassurance Caller program has increased from 37 just a year ago to 51 clients. It's really important to our seniors. If our reassurance caller is sick or has to go out of town, they call her and find out why she didn't call them. They worry about her. So it's really amazing. But it has really helped seniors to cope. It helps fight isolation. It helps fight loneliness. A year ago, our calls averaged 5 to 10 minutes in duration, and now most calls have increased to 15 to 20 minutes. The program offers benefits such as pro-social engagement, cognitive stimulation, memory enhancement, resource education, stress reduction, and support. And the program really has shown us a lot of red flags. It's really allowed us to more closely monitor clients for potential red flags that indicate decreases in independence, cognitive functioning, emotional distress, and changes in needs. We can easily move from reassurance caller mode to case management, and we assist seniors with their needs in that way. And it's been inspiring, really inspiring, and an honor to provide, sorry, this program, sorry, to our seniors. It really has. It really allows us to build true relationships with them. And the next slide. The next slide is our newest program. As the Homemaker program. It's brand new this year. In the past, this local need was met by Prospect Home Care, the Helping Hands program, but that was just discontinued about 4 to 5 years ago. Since this discontinuation, we've struggled to fill this gap in services for our seniors. We have 2 types of programs: the voucher program, either that's from an agency or through an independent homemaker. Due to the limited number of agencies that do business in our area, though, the vast majority of clients have chosen the self-directed. Can you go over one more? I don't know how, yeah. The vast majority of clients has chosen the self-directed program. Our program is only set up for 6 hours per month. In the self-directed program, the senior hires the homemaker. They self-direct what the aide will do for them. Some only want them to do light housework. Some want wood brought in and a pot of stew made. Some need them to go get groceries or a prescription. If there appears to be too much for the program's 2 hours, we'll sit down with the client and come up with solutions that may better fit their needs. The program often is able to fill the gaps in the service delivery that we have. Not only can it be utilized for a 6 hour per month ongoing homemaker, if one is not eligible for in need of other kind of help, but if a person is discharged from a hospital and just needs a little extra help around the house for a short time period, this program can help too. Also, if a senior is waiting on the approval process for like a CDAS or HCBS program, this program can be used as that in that stopgap, as a stopgap program. And we really look out to make sure that if they can get on an HCBS program, and if they want that, then we help them facilitate that and refer it. And of course, they only do general household activities. There's really no hands-on care, but it has changed people's lives dramatically, being able to stay in their own homes. So you don't know how much our hearts thank you guys for allowing us to do this program. Any questions?
So it sounds like you are combining both your homemaker and essentially a chore program if they're doing firewood. I mean, is that more of a description? It's more a homemaker and a chore program combined?
Well, in Cripple Creek, a homemaker that's part of their duties, is to bring in the wood. So
okay.
No hands-on care, it's not, it's making the bed and
But Lisa's right. It's a very, duties in the mountains are a little different than they probably are in urban areas. So it's just like, oh, well, I'll bring in a load of wood. So yeah, it's not an official chore program, but it certainly is something that I think all of our homemakers expect to be a little different from maybe a typical homemaker program. But as Lisa said, that for being the first year, we are just thrilled with the impact that's been able to have, especially because we've had such a difficult time having agencies provide that kind of care up here. So for them to be able to self-direct their care, it has been such a great fit for our community up here. So it's just been really a life changer, as Lisa said. And we're very proud of our staff and their connections to our seniors. It truly is building that trusting relationship has been such a powerful tool in maximizing their quality of life, especially over this last year. But and just being able to connect and reassure them that there are programs to be able to have them really live a long time and be independent in their homes for as long as possible. That's really the goal. And we see that, and so tremendous success stories up here in the mountains. So we are so thankful to be able to offer that.
And now is your homemaker program, is that, do volunteers provide that service, or is that a paid service?
It's a paid service. If a client knows somebody that they want to have be their homemaker, then they just choose them automatically. But we also, what we have done is we have created a list of homemakers that we have, and they can interview them, that we have done the, what do you call it, a background
legwork.
Yeah, so yeah, we've done
background check.
Yeah, and so we have a list of them, and if somebody doesn't know anybody in the community, that wants to do that for them, then we can give them a list, and they've actually been happier with those people, to be honest with you, than they have with people they know, so.
One thing, your phone reassurance sounds, about 30 years ago, a wife was involved in Houston. Mayor would pair up somebody that was homebound with somebody else to call them daily, check on them, just verify, okay, are you all right, anything? And if there was a problem and they didn't get an answer, the sheriff went out and checked on them. And
oh, that's nice.
that was every morning. If they weren't going to be there, they had supposed to tell the person that was calling them they're not going to be here tomorrow, so they didn't set off things. But it, it was basically a neighbor called a neighbor.
Right. And that is what ours is based on as well. Our reassurance caller was actually a friendly caller program through the Cripple Creek Police Department at first, and now she's with us. They stopped that program. Well, they didn't stop that program, but they changed that program.
You wanted to be able to offer that because it was offered, still is in Cripple Creek, but so many of our folks are in outlying areas or in Victor or in other pockets and communities. And really the program is even more important in those isolated areas because of the geographic isolation. And so it really has been a game changer. There's been people that have, because of that program, if we hadn't heard from them, Dawn would call and have them do a welfare check, and on minimum two instances, it really did save lives. So again, it's such a neat kind of easy program, and the concept is very easy, but the results are really very impactful.
Right, getting people signed up for it is called, hey, a neighbor wants to check on him once in a while.
Yep.
Yep.
So Houston, it was, they had set a period of time, like between, my wife always called between 7 and 7:30 before she went to work in the morning. And she expected an answer in that time.
Yeah, and with this program, I think it was especially pertinent during COVID because there were so many people who were so isolated. They would come to town once a week to get their groceries and see everybody, or come to the senior center, and they didn't have that anymore. And and all of their socialization was gone. So it was so important for them to have this. And we also integrated the GRIT program. We were all trained in GRIT, which is
greater resiliency. I don't remember the last two, but it really is very much a neighbor to neighbor program, and just being able to ask open-ended questions of people, and how are you doing? How are you doing with the COVID challenges? And so I would really encourage, it's a program that was developed through USC or UCCS. And but it's GRIT. It's a very neighbor to neighbor, logical, easy to implement program. And it's I think there's 5 modules, and they take an hour per module, but it's something you can do on your own. It's something that all of our staff have been trained in. And again, it's just really a way to reach out to folks and find out if they are having struggles, and just being able to connect them. So just a great program. And then today we're actually having the mental health first aid training, and that's Lisa and I ducked out of there to do the presentation, but another stellar program that we're really enjoying today. So we sure thank you for all of your support for letting us present today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Well,
I do want to say, can I borrow your rugged individualist mentality statement? Can I use that in my presentations? I really like that. Rugged individualist mentality. I'm in Park County, and boy, I'm going to put that's going to be a heading on our papers now. Rugged individualist mentality. With your permission, however.
Absolutely. You bet.
Thank you.
One of my favorite pizzas in Chattanooga is called the Rugged Individualist. It's just a pepperoni pizza.
I'm going to write that one down.
Right.
I don't have a question, but I did want to say that I appreciate the way that the services that you all have, you tweak for the individuals, that the population that you're serving. Kind of that idea of bringing that wood in, as Chris was talking about, that understanding what individuals in your service area need and meeting that need regardless of whether it's something that would normally be done or not. I truly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much, Ted and Lisa. You've brought us up to date. I miss coming out to visiting you in person, always that happy visit to Cripple Creek. But hopefully next year.
Hopefully we get back to that. That'd be great. Yeah.
Right, right. Well, thank you.
I just have one more thing to interject as membership chair, and kind of our latest thing that we are trying to work on with the RAC membership is an Adopt a Senior program. And I see the services, you know, you could be a resource for us. We are trying to initiate a program that would find that one senior that has some just needs, temporary needs, the food card, the, you know, sweater, whatever, that we could adopt as a membership to kind of, you know, maybe tie in with your homemaker program or augment and support. If there were a person that you knew of, could identify for us or give us a person that we could temporarily help for, you know, for just finding, you know, needs for a short period of time, we would appreciate getting a name, either through Melissa or, you know, me as membership. We could talk about that. But I see this as a resource for adopting a senior somehow.
That's a great thought. And it's Marilyn, right?
Yes.
Marilyn Bradish.
Yes.
We'll make sure that we stay connected with you. I think, you know, those kind of conversations can really lead to programs that can really be life-changing for folks. So thank you very much. We'll look into that.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. I'm going to quickly move on to Chris to tell us what's the situation with our TRS committee. So go ahead, Chris.
Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone. I just have to make a brief statement. I have to be off on an important phone call. We are moving forward into the funding cycle. We have the RFPs. I think they're already back, aren't they, Melissa? Don't we have everybody's RFPs?
Yes, they were turned in. Everyone did a great job, and Melody is preparing the documents along with Casey, our Chief Fiscal Officer.
So once that gets assimilated and put together, then we assemble as the committee and we go through and pick apart and decide what money we're funding. And now initially we did have quite a deficit in our budget. I think it was at 3.2. I think at one point we've gone as much as I think 6.3, but we've got some additional because of the federal mandates. There's been some additional funding, and then we had some CARE Acts conversions. So there will be some money for us to play with for our providers that, you know, they do a wonderful job. But I have to say it's been one of my favorite things I've ever done, actually knowing how the nuts and bolts work. And that said, we need some help. B can no longer vote now that she's chair. So we need some help in getting some members available. So this is sort of a guilt towards our RAC members. You know, can you step up and come up and spend a lot of time going through numbers? And I will say it's worthwhile. And what I will do is I will go ahead and get a list from Melissa of all the individual RAC members, and I will be making some phone calls. It's just like I handle fundraising. Hello, can you get your butt here? Can we get some money? It's not technically guilt, but I'll be laying it on pretty thick. So expect that phone call, please. And we do need some help.
And Chris, can I add a couple of updates from Jody?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. So Jody, you know, the funding for this next contract year, he right now is expecting it to be pretty much the same as it was last year, relatively flat. That's really good, but we don't know for sure. It still has not been come through yet as of today. With the TRS meeting, you know, Chris was hoping that we might have more than just the one Zoom meeting, but Jody and Melody and the rest of the AAA are pushing more for just that one meeting. and requesting that everybody do their homework at home, read through the proposals, come up with your questions, and then email those questions. You can email them to Melody, and then she can kind of send them out to the whole group so people can kind of see what kinds of questions are coming through. And so maybe I will recommend that we put a deadline on that once the proposals are actually sent out, so that people can review that, send in questions. Super important. And then, you know, the team at the AAA can be reviewing those and getting the answers, calling the contractors, you know, getting those answers, you know, kind of done. And, you know, for people who are new on the RAC, I would encourage you to definitely, I think B has said this before, and even Chris, this is a really great opportunity to really have a really much better understanding of what the responsibilities are for the RAC, in terms of looking at these different programs, looking at the needs of the community, looking at the dollars that come through. It's really the nuts and bolts of what this committee does. And it's really, you know, it's time consuming, but it's a lot of fun and you really learn a lot. So I will continue to push what Chris has said. And
two of us, get your butts busy.
Yeah. And I want to say the people that I had down already as TRS members were Joe Ruth and Carol Parks. And so that's all we have. So that means really there's just 3 members because B attends more as kind of the overseer. So be thinking about it. It's really a great opportunity. And the TRS will meet to review those applications the week of May 7th. So that's our timeline. So we're looking at, it's coming up soon, and we're working hard on it. So
Chris, this is Marilyn Massey. I had volunteered to be on that committee.
I'm sorry?
I had volunteered to work on that committee.
Okay, that would be fantastic.
Because I've been on it for 2 different years, so that would, I can bring some experience.
That would be wonderful.
Marilyn.
Thank you so much.
Chris, this is Jen. I think that I've done it in the past as well. I'm happy to help out, and I think it would also be very helpful and informational from an SRS perspective to be part of that group. So I'm more than happy to help out. Just send me an invite.
Well, good. I will do so. Now look at that. I didn't even have to make the guilt phone calls.
Oh, and I will third you and Melissa. It is an excellent opportunity for new people in the RAC to really learn what goes on and how the RAC operates in our communities. So definitely encourage new folks to join in.
And
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
Laura,
yes.
Sorry, I had my second shot yesterday and I'm a little out of it. But I'm going to push through this. I have charged B with helping me out in also kind of looking at some RFPs that are separate from the AAA program for transportation assistance and the specialized transportation program. This is a much smaller process than the AAA funding, but I am looking for a couple of people to work on a small committee to assess the 5310 FTA proposals. And so we're looking at probably 3 to 4 proposals that will come in a similar format. I have a scoring sheet, so people would actually get the proposals, we would go over the score sheet, and then you would score them, and then we would meet one time to discuss how to distribute the funds and who to distribute it to. So I have a similar timeline as the AAA on this, so feel free to reach out to me or B if you're interested. And like I said, these proposals are a lot smaller than the AAA proposals, so it's not going to be a huge time suck. But I do encourage everybody to be a part of these things, because there's nothing better than to be the Santa Claus in the room and being able to give people money to do good work. So you don't get those opportunities very often in life. And so most of the time people were asking for money from you. Now you're able to give it, and it's not your money. So, but I encourage that to help out in both of these opportunities.
Laura, do you know are any of them Park County affiliated, any of the ones you're currently looking at?
So Chris, that's a great question. So the 5310 money is actually only for the Colorado Springs urbanized area. Okay. The 5311 money goes through CDOT, and CDOT does the funding for the rural areas. But I would love to have people from other areas looking at these applications. And so it's kind of looking at it from a fresh perspective if you're outside of the Colorado Springs area. So that's not a factor for me. But yes, this money is dedicated by FTA for the urbanized area.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What is covered by the Colorado Springs urbanized area? I live in Fountain, and Colorado Springs completely surrounds the town of Fountain now. Are we part of what you consider urbanized Colorado Springs? Because I just wasn't sure where we fit in there.
Yes, definitely. Fountain is a part of that. Really, the only parts of El Paso County that are not included in the urbanized area is out in the Calhoun area, far east, and then above Monument. So Toma, I think it's Toma area is not included in that.
So basically, can someone turn off their microphone? Anyway, so basically it looks like we have some good probably enough volunteers, right, Chris, for the TRS? And
we are definitely, and we are at the apropos number, so that's good. And again, thank you for not making me have to make those phone calls. It would have been nice to touch base, but I do appreciate it. Hey, everyone, I need to sign off. I have I'm actually testifying in a trial through WebEx, so I have to get off the phone. It's nice to see everybody. I've missed a few meetings with various family issues, and let's get it moving forward. And thank you so much for all the good things you do, providers. Take care.
Thank you, Chris.
Bye-bye.
And then as far as the Laura's project, if you just want to dip your toe in for the first time with only a few proposals, they only have about 3 or 4 proposals. It's a much smaller project, but Laura definitely needs your help. So let Laura know or let myself know, and we'll make the connection. So thanks so much. Okay. Let's move on to membership. Marilyn, do you have anything for us today?
Well, again, I'm very happy to see membership moving forward to be part of, the committees, both the TRS and both the, hopefully with the strategic committee with Jen, to see everyone become involved in the real nuts and bolts of our committee. So very excited about that. I think the other aspect is the cultural aspect that we've kind of touched on within, cultural accessibility for members. And I was sorry that I was unable to attend the equity and inclusiveness workshop, which there were a couple of those that happened in the past 2 weeks. I was unable to tie in with any of those. I think that B did and Melissa did.
Joanne did.
So I would share?
We'll give you an update a little later on.
Okay. Yeah, those are, I'm sorry that I missed that, but I think that, kind of trying to look in that direction with some cultural inclusiveness in our membership and tap those people that have some resource about that to, have a conversation about how that can happen as well within our membership. So I think those were the only 2 things I wanted to hear about the inclusiveness workshop, and just excited about members, being proactive in the RAC at this point.
Very good. Thank you.
And Marilyn, I just want to confirm that I think I have for your membership committee is Joe Ruth and Rosemary Jaramillo.
Right, you did send me that. That's great.
Those are the three. Elaine, I think, is not officially on the membership committee, but maybe she is. So correct, we can dig into that a little bit more, but any other RAC members that are on right now, do you believe you are on the membership committee if I didn't mention you? Okay.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, let's go on to our SRS committee. Jen had some phone problems last time around, so we're looking forward to hearing your report.
So we met in February, had a really great group that joined us, and a lot of great perspective went into reviewing our 2-pager blueprint document. I've shared it with Melissa, and at one point I had some really great notes on that document. So I had to go back and recreate the notes from my written notes. But overall, what we've learned is that we have a really great opportunity of collaboration that goes on in our community based on the different providers and services that we offer. I'll share that document with you through Melissa, but we've really been able to drill it out into areas of specific focus. So we've got transportation, legal, case management, and some housing advocacy issues. So through that, we've got a lot of documentation of the different programs that are going on. And I welcome you to review that document. And the exciting thing is that we're currently in a survey window right now where we've asked providers and as well as people from the community who utilize our services, what it is that they have found that they needed during COVID time, and how we can incorporate some of that information going forward as we look at additional funding and programs for post-COVID services. Some of the things that we thought were high priority, we learned necessarily may not have been, and they shifted during this time. So there was some really great conversation that went along with that. Also, we've looked at some new opportunity with advocacy and special populations. So look for us to find ways to collaborate with different training for cultural sensitivity. And again, looking with Maryland to work on broadening that special population group in our board membership. So we do find that there are a lot of cultures that we aren't currently having a voice, and we want to make sure that they're represented when we consider services for the Pikes Peak area. Our next meeting that's coming up will be in May on the 13th. And from that meeting in February, we'll be creating some action items and ownership on them going forward on how we'll work with that survey and incorporating that information into the 4-year and strategic plans from our agency.
Are there any questions for Jen? So those 4 major areas, I just wanted to repeat those for myself maybe, are transportation, legal, housing, and case management. Are those the 4?
Yeah.
With then some focus on advocacy and special populations.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And again, anybody is welcome from the RAC to join us on that meeting in May, but I will continue to include the group that we met with in February, but anyone is welcome to join. We'd love to have you.
Terrific. All right. All our committees are really active this year. I'm excited about that as chair. You know, chairs always like their committees to be working. So that's wonderful. All right. Director's report. Melissa, how's Jody doing? And
Well, both Jody and Melody send their regards to everyone. They are on the 2-day training, well, not training, 2-day call with the State Commission on Aging group. So once a quarter, I think they get together and basically spend about 2 days. Usually they meet someplace around the state, but now they're having to just do it on Zoom. So they are tied up in those meetings today and tomorrow. Jody is hanging in there. He is still in West Virginia with his parents. His father is recovering, but his mom right now is still in a pretty critical state. So he's hanging in there, but not back yet. And really, you know, with the time difference, he's really struggled with making, you know, all the right connections and getting in touch with everybody, but it's moving ahead and working out. So, and Melody, of course, is all about TRS and thinking about that quite a bit. And, you know, looking forward to really working a lot more with the RAC in the next couple of weeks. So exciting there. So I think the only other thing Jody wanted me to let people know about, and we're going to talk about this a little bit here in open discussion, you know, with the Biden administration, they, of course, passed, you know, a 3-year recovery package. And in the state of Colorado, they're calling it Build Back Stronger. And, you know, our AAA is going to receive a pretty significant chunk of money through that Build Back Stronger support. And we don't know what that is yet. They're discussing, you know, dollar amounts and discussing when it'll be available, but it's coming. And so again, all the more reason for us to have that really great SRS strategy in place, thinking about what the needs are across our 3-county area, not just El Paso County, and really, you know, kind of planning for what to do with this extra money and how to make the biggest impact we can. So I think that was what he wanted me to share with you guys today. So that's that.
Okay, thank you. Then as the chair's report, well, once again, I want to encourage any volunteers to, if you're really interested in transportation, that would be, it'd be wonderful if you could volunteer to review those proposals for Laura. It sounds like I consider that just sort of dipping your toe into reading proposals and helping make recommendations about whether or not they should be approved. A big element of Laura's projects are that these are federal grants, and so the organizations need to have the capability to meet the federal regulations, which are probably a little more precise and a little more in-depth than perhaps the state projects. So if you can volunteer for that, hey, it'd be great. I'll probably volunteer for both committees just to see what's going on. So you won't be the only one. And hopefully
Jennifer volunteered too, so
hopefully
we have you too.
Yeah. Okay. As we've had a lot going on in terms of different types of training and seminars, etc. I attended last week the UCCS series. Just wanted to take that one was on, it's called the Emotional and Mental Health Webinars. And there's another one today at 2 o'clock from 2 to 3 p.m. Last week, we talked about these seminars are mostly for your own personal well-being. And so I find that I can use a little help in that area as I'm getting a little stir crazy at home. Anyway, today's presentation is going to, I had it written down. I think it's today they're going to talk about loneliness. how to build deeper relationships to combat that. So I recommend that series to anyone. And then the equity and aging workshop that people mentioned, and that was yesterday for 4 hours. And once again, it taps into one of the areas that we have talked about, equitable representation on the RAC. Well, of course, they didn't talk about that specifically, but that's where I would see it apply. Very good speakers, wonderful conversations, trying to help us understand. I think to sort of, whenever we start a new project or do something in a particular way, have we really considered how that affects all populations? And have we considered whether there's equity in our approach, or are we using a method that's worked in the past for some population but does not work for others? For those other people who attended, Joanne, Melissa, were there some concepts that you took away from that presentation yesterday?
Yeah, am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are. We can hear you.
Great. It was extraordinarily valuable to have the concept of what it means to be equitable. In all of our ways, we really know our own person. We know who we are and what our background is. But that, of course, doesn't match every other background. And I thought that this morning when we were talking about Cripple Creek, and how clearly they were addressing the needs of that we would have never thought of in town here. We get our mail by walking out to the mailbox 50 feet, and what it's like to walk so far, or up and down the hills, or come in once a week for the mail, not having cell connections, things that we really take for granted. And as we talk about that, then there are just automatic reflections for each of us individually. If some of us think about what was it like 50 years ago, or what it's like for your grandparents longer than that, we get a different perspective, and we know how valuable those kinds of things are. So I really enjoyed that part of it.
Right, absolutely. Melissa, did you want to add anything?
So to kind of complement what Joe just said, but also yet kind of being on a little bit of the flip side of it, Joe has that was just really well said in terms of the very personal relationship kind of side of things that the workshop really delved into. What I took away from it, and why I signed up for it and thought it would be really important for both the RAC and the Commission on Aging, is the fact that they actually had a toolkit to use, which I don't want to break this down into a step-by-step answer because it's not that at all. But I'm so thrilled that they have this aging and equity index that the the National Civic League has created and produced. And so, you know, if we use this tool, it will help us to, you know, understand other ways that we can be reaching out and connecting to communities that we are not supporting right now. So I really look forward to the RAC and the Commission on Aging digging into that a little bit more as, you know, membership efforts are underway.
That's great. It reminded me when I was at UNLV, I was director of academic assessment, and we developed rubrics to measure student learning for all of our 229 degree programs. So when they brought up that index and then showed us the type of rubric, a rubric is just a way to measure how well you're doing. Anyway, it was so familiar, and I'm like you, Melissa, I want to dig into that and see how it might be applied to our situation. And well, our membership committee is going to be working hard on that whole issue of reaching out to other populations for membership on the RAC so that all voices can be heard. I think that's basically what we're heading for, and for helping us understand, you know, where there's some unmet needs in various communities. Are there ways to deliver services that need to be modified, as Joanne's talking about? We heard about Cripple Creek today. There's a lot for us to do, and I'm looking forward to our work together on that. Okay, then let's move on to our discussion items. We don't have any action items today. Melissa has listed for us some of the programs that are out there. One of the things that I think some of our members have wanted to do is they've wanted to have the voice, wanted us to be more of a voice for aging seniors in our community. And what we realized when we looked around is there are lots of opportunities for individuals, and I suppose even for the group as a whole, to give input. And several of these are listed here. The Build Back Stronger. Melissa, could you tell us where they are in this process in terms of, are they having monthly meetings? Do we need to get on this right away if we want to talk about how those stimulus funds should be spent? I guess I'm wondering where the process is.
That's a great question, Bea. And I'm not totally sure. The website, the buildbackstrongerco.com website is amazing. And if you have a chance today, just go take a quick peek. Maybe I'll put it in the chat here in a second. So you can just click on it and pull it up on your screen. They hosted the state of Colorado hosted a series of community conversations where elected officials sat in on those to hear from people around the state about what they thought about issues. And so they had conversations around workforce, around behavioral health, a whole entire conversation just around behavioral health. And so those are all, and then they had conversations around different communities of color too. So really literally targeting in on, Latinx and, other communities of color. So all of those were recorded and you can listen to them now. They're an hour long and they are right to the point. They're great. And so I encourage you to take a minute and dig into that. In El Paso County, our elected officials are digging in and talking about these things now. And so as you finish maybe listening to any of those, if something rose to the top that you are super interested in, I would encourage you to send an email to myself and Bea, and we'll start to compile those. And then we could share those with Jessica McMullen, who is our policy and communications person here at the PPACG. And so, take a minute and listen in on some of that. There is actually a commission at the state level that is literally looking at getting people back to work who are over 50. And I don't have that in front of me right now, the name of the gal who's running that, but I got that information just yesterday. So that's exciting. And I think there's some really interesting opportunities on the forefront in terms of employment. And, you know, as well as just well-being. So there's just a lot to learn there with the Build Back Stronger. And I think it's also just really important for all of us to know that the state is doing that. You know, that really this money is slated for the next 3 years. And so there are, you know, it's not something that people are just throwing out haphazardly. There's really some concerted planning going on. So I think it's really important for us to know that. And I wish I knew more about Park County. You know, when I see the other things on here, the El Paso County Master Plan, I have no idea about a Park County or a Teller County Master Plan. And I'll let Bea talk a little bit about that one because she came across that too. And, you know, just good stuff. And so the more we can be aware of things like that, the better. So if anybody has questions about the Build Back Stronger, otherwise I will stop and we can move on.
Okay. Right. The El Paso County Master Plan is up online on the El Paso County website, and you can give feedback on that. I mean, I think one of the things that we all have look at the world from several points of view, but it would be nice if we could look at some of these documents from the point of view of seniors and see if we feel like they are well represented in the plans, have their needs been taken into account, and providing feedback along the way. I'm looking forward to looking at that, at the Build Back Stronger, because it's always nice if there are dollars associated with a project. So you can think about how could those be spent effectively to meet the needs of seniors. Retool Colorado Springs, I'm not as familiar with that one. Melissa, I'm assuming that's another plan for the Colorado Springs area?
Yeah, so that one is a little bit more literally about zoning for the El Paso County area. And so one of the reasons that Retool COS has become a real talking point in the aging sector is because there's a lot of housing conversations there. There's a lot of discussion going on about, you know, with new development, you know, is it still going to just be single family homes zoned for that? Are there going to be opportunities to create different types of zoning, you know, in the new development? It's also looking at existing development, saying, are we going to, you know, rezone and allow for ADU units, accessory dwelling units in communities and neighborhoods where they haven't been allowed before? Just a lot of conversation around what does the future of housing look like in our area? And that would be El Paso County. So Teller County, Park County, you know, it's interesting to hear Ted and his staffer talk about, you know, yeah, remember there's like no affordable housing in Teller County. It's really a challenge. And what does that look like? And, you know, Teller County does have similar processes that happen. I'm just not as tuned into them and would like to be. So, you know, these are issues across our region. And as a RAC, we always have to remember that and keep that in mind.
Well, I'm interested in hearing from members. What are some of the issues as we review some of these documents, as we have the opportunity to provide input? Are there some things that just come to the top of your mind right now where you'd say we should be looking at this issue as we review these documents, as we provide input? What do you put on the top of your list when you think about seniors? I'd love to hear from some of our members, or all of our members.
Hi, Bea. This is Rosemary.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to say, of course, at the top of my list is Alzheimer's and dementia and the dementia-friendly community.
Okay.
So it's always on the top of my list.
And what?
Our biggest problem rurally is just communication and transportation. Gets down to that, getting touching each other and getting there.
All right. Rosemary, could you, when you say Alzheimer's friendly community?
Dementia friendly. Yeah, and part of the issue is really getting the information out to people so that they know that there are resources, and contacting different agencies, trying to get them to share our education programs. I don't know if everybody saw recently in the news what took place, you know, further up north in our state, but things like that should never happen in our community. We have the resources and we have the education, we have the knowledge. It's all at our fingertips. It's just a matter of getting them into the right hands and getting them into places where people are utilizing them and paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Other people.
I think one of the things that I kind of look at, and one of the things that I try and keep in mind, is the ease of accessibility of the services that we have. You know, I think we have a large pool of services and resources within the community and within our area. Certainly, there's always room for more, but sometimes it's particularly, and I know coming from kind of DHS, one of the struggles that I know we have is making the services that we have genuinely accessible to the individuals that need them. And, you know, sometimes the processes involved and the hoops that need to be jumped through and the steps that have to be taken, even something as simple as kind of what was mentioned earlier, having to get on a computer to do some things, like
right.
Accessibility of the programs that we have. If we can make what we have more accessible to more individuals, then it actually does more good. Because, you know, focusing on additional programs is a good thing, and we always need to keep that in mind, but we also have to review what we currently have and make sure that what we have is available to the individuals that are legitimately need it and are going to use it.
Important point, important point. Other members? Marilyn?
I think that, I know we talk about housing, but I think sometimes housing, we tend to think, well, it's just not there, but maybe there's money for it if it was. But we have a lot of disabled seniors in our communities that have a very limited income. And right now, I believe there's something in this CARES Act that's helping fund some of these people who can't really afford to pay the rent where they're already living. And I think that's an issue that needs to be examined some more on how we can be, help them to be self-sufficient, really, is what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Others?
I wonder if Mary wants to share. I think she's kind of put two things in the chat so far that I think were interesting. One was a recognition and thinking about people who are deaf and hard of hearing, and how that, you know, what's happening there. Are they being kept in mind during everything that's going on? The other one, she talked again about housing and, you know, older adults who end up getting displaced because of a multitude of reasons and what's happening there. And so Mary, if you want to share more.
Jennifer did respond that the deaf population is one area that they are keeping in mind for advocacy with the SRS work. So I was happy to hear that.
All right, yeah, there's the special populations definitely need some attention here. Other comments? Well, thank you for that input. It's always nice to, you know, as you read a document to have some concepts in mind to zero in on as you're reviewing it. And I'm thinking that that issue of ease of accessibility, one of the things that came up in our equity workshop was, for example, a meeting was set up to take input from seniors on transportation. And as we looked at the scenario that was presented, we realized that the meeting was set up at noon. Might not, people might be working, might not be able to come to the meeting. Were the people going to be able to have the transportation to get to the meeting? In other words, was the meeting put on a bus route, for example, so you could get to the meeting? And you could go right on down the list. There were about, I would say, at least 10 different aspects of even that meeting set up to gather input, which really didn't take into consideration the population of people that were going to provide the input. So anyway, well, thank you. Thank you for your input on this. And I hope we'll all, I know that sometimes it's almost like too many things to read, but maybe if you could pick one of them and pick out some ideas within it, the things that are of particular interest to you, your point of view, your background and experience.
It's Mary, and I've turned my picture off and I don't know how to turn it back on. But I was wondering, with what you just said about the inaccessibility sometimes of what we plan for the people that are actually what we're doing it for.
Right.
And a long time ago, when we had party lines, people could pick up their phones and actually have a conversation of 2 or 3 people together. And I know that the computer has replaced so much of that. I'm just curious, does anyone know, is there still a way where someone with and link into other people on the phone?
Yes, my son taught me that you can actually have a conference call. There's on our smartphones, when you're on a call, there actually is a way to add other people to the call. So it's that capability is still there, although I don't know if it's, when they talked about flip phones up in Cripple Creek, I don't know whether that is available, but
maybe we could do some kind of an educational, research, just looking into it to see if such a thing is available. And if people have phones but no computer internet, can they link together? And then we could put that information out for them.
That sounds good. Great. Well, I'm going to then move on to our next meeting, as I mentioned, is May 27th. We're still via Zoom so far. Our executive committee meeting, that's our officers and our committee chairs, will meet on the first Tuesday, which is May 4th. And also the PPACG retirement series begins on April 26th, and you can go on to the PPACG website to sign up for that. Any other calendar events, meetings, events, things happening?
And B, this isn't a calendar event, but I wondered if you and Bill and even Joyce might want to take a minute and introduce the new Park County Senior Coalition Director to the group before we sign off today.
Oh, great. Bill, could you help us with that?
I introduced her yesterday, or invited her yesterday, and sent her the link, and there she is. She's been on almost 2 weeks now. It's getting her in over her head almost already. we just kind of threw her to the wolves and let her go. But it's Jenny Dinner, and she's jumped right in. You have anything to say?
Hey, Jenny, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I was not expecting this. Thank you so much for letting me join in today. I'm Jenny Danner. I'm the new Executive Director of the Park County Senior Coalition. I'm here with Joyce Whittle as well. I have learned a tremendous amount in my 2 weeks so far, and I feel really passionate and very excited to be here and to be making a positive impact in our community.
Well, welcome. You're welcome to attend our meetings every month, anytime, and we look forward to coming out and visiting you once COVID's over and we can go out and have our meetings in communities again sometime soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, anything else?
B, could I ask you
Sure.
if I'm still a member of the executive committee?
I think no. Is that right? You're not an officer anymore, right?
The second, well, no, I think you're right. I think that because Bill took on the second vice chair role, Elaine is the vice chair. So Joyce is, you know, free, so to speak.
Your term of office is complete. So you are not, Joyce.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
B, this is Jason DeBueno with Silver Key. I just wanted to announce that, thank you. I just wanted to announce that at this point, barring any issues with COVID and all of that, that Silver Key does have its planned gala that was supposed to be last year to celebrate our 50th, will be scheduled for August 7th at the Boot Barn. And that will be celebrating our 50th, but into our 51st year. So,
right.
Agenda.
That's great. Well, we're going to get an invitation, right?
Absolutely, we will once we get a little bit closer to that. But I just want to make sure that people know that we've got that event happening.
Wonderful, wonderful. Look forward to that. Any other announcements? Well, thank you again, everyone, for being here today. Thank you for all the work you do on behalf of seniors, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Bye now.
B, will you stay on with me for a sec?
Sure.
Bye, everyone. All right. So that was a very informative and busy meeting, B.
It really was, and it goes to show that you can get people involved, you can get people talking, and they do